This exhibition contains a profusion of garments and images that are all mementos of the practice of dressing up in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. But each of them is astonishing when you consider that it speaks to a single evening of enjoyment in someone's life a century or more ago. How did they all end up here? Where do they all come from? Well, most of these outfits are found in our very large collection. But then, how did they get from the people who wore them to us? Museums can only build collections because people have saved things and passed them down through time. And people tend to save certain types of things, usually things in which they've invested a great deal of money, time, or emotion. So the fact that so many people saved the garments they wore for dress-up tells us that the costume balls they attended were tremendously significant in their lives. And it's because they communicated that importance in the act of passing on these items that they eventually made their way through a few generations and then to us, the museum, where they became part of our collection. Each of these outfits is like a piece of a jigsaw puzzle, but a puzzle that keeps growing in size as I put it together. Time and again, when I find that a garment in the collection doesn't quite fit the fashion of its time period, I realize that it was actually dress-up. And the more such cases that I've discovered, the more easily I recognize others for what they are. One of my tools is pictures of people dressed up for costume balls in the archives of 19th century photographers, like those in our photography collection. Time and again, usually while I'm looking for something else, I've come across photographs of people wearing an outfit very similar to one I've seen, and more than a few times, one of the very outfits. And then that image gives me a date and location where the person had their picture taken, so I can turn to historical newspapers to figure out what ball or party they attended, what character they portrayed, and sometimes even a description of what they were wearing. Doing this is slow research. It's work that involves far too much serendipity to make a methodical or deliberate approach realistic. It's the result of sitting with this material for, frankly, decades. With the accumulation of this volume of historical material, I've been able to go on to pose broader questions that are relevant to us today. This form of play, in fact, gives unique insight into how its participants viewed the world they lived in.